It all begins on a dark night at the clan headquarters as a desperate scream echoes through the halls. Inside, the young Bakley Woon is being held back, his father staring at him coldly without a word. The clan leader simply dismisses everyone to stop the commotion, leaving the boy even more confused. He then orders that the incident must not be leaked, and that the Bakley clan will not seek revenge. Unable to believe what he's hearing, Bakley Woon clenches his fists in a mix of anger and frustration. His father claims it's all for the good of the clan, warning Bakley Woon not to act recklessly. With those words, the boy feels utterly betrayed by the one person who should have protected him most. Tears welling in his eyes, he questions how his father can call himself a man when he won't even avenge his own wife. Heartbroken, the protagonist declares his father isn't even human as a door shuts in his face. At that moment, the young man decides to leave, feeling no remaining attachment to the Bakley clan. Knowing he's too weak for revenge now, he vows to train so that no one can ever underestimate him again. His plan involves founding a new sect and gathering followers to build his own power base. One by one, he will hunt down everyone involved, including those who stood by and did nothing. The young man swears to make them all pay, even if it takes decades to accomplish. 12 years later, a building is engulfed in flames as a henchman begs for his life on the ground. In a desperate attempt to negotiate his survival, the man offers the protagonist anything he desires. But our now adult MC just stares down the enemy with a cold gaze, dagger in hand. The henchman presses the offer, and Bakley Woon finally admits there is indeed something he wants. Thinking he's saved, the enemy joyfully asks what the protagonist could possibly desire. A wicked grin spreading across his face, our hero simply replies, "Your life." The henchman's face twists in anger as he snaps that it's not funny at all. In response, the protagonist states that if he won't give it up willingly, it'll have to be the hard way. The MC then warns that he'll just take it by force, bracing for an attack. This enrages the enemy, who screams that he's going to tear the young man to pieces. But in a flash, Bakley Woon is right behind him, remarking that the man's mouth is as full as his face. With a single swift motion, our hero sends his opponent flying into a wall. A thick cloud of dust billows up from the impact, while the protagonist calmly observes the scene. His expression remains serious, showing no reaction to what he has just done. Suddenly, the enemy emerges from the rubble, vowing to send the MC's head to the Miram Alliance. Unfazed by the threat, our hero calmly draws his sword. In the blink of an eye, Bakley Woon lunges forward, ending the confrontation with a single, decisive strike. After it's all over, he stands before the building, now fully engulfed in flames. With his mission accomplished, the protagonist sheathes a sustained weapon. Just then, a beautiful young woman appears, calling him Captain, and presenting a scroll. His face smudged with dirt, the young man thanks Moang Hye-in for waiting so patiently. The young woman politely suggests that the captain should clean his face first. For a moment, the two of them just stand there, watching the fire consume the structure. Bakley Woon then uses the blood on his face to press a mark onto the scroll. He gazes at it, wondering if this is the end or merely the beginning of his journey. Finally, the MC tosses the scroll to the woman to deliver the Miram Alliance, announcing his retirement. She asks if he is returning to his hometown, and he confirms he has achieved everything he set out to do in the Alliance. Moang Hye-in then asks if she might visit him someday, to which he agrees, should she ever get bored. But she reminds him that he at least needs to tell her where to find him. With a smile, our hero reveals the location and bids her farewell, embarking on his new path. The scene shifts to the protagonist traveling by boat, surrounded by a breathtaking landscape. As he sails, he begins to reflect on the long and arduous journey that brought him to this point. The young man recalls leaving his clan behind to forge his own strength within the Miram Alliance. He remembers developing his own martial arts and rising to the rank of captain over 12 long years. Now the MC believes the time has finally come to realize his ultimate dream of creating a sect. He had saved up enough money for a mansion, and the perfect property appeared at just the right time. Brimming with excitement, he stands with his arms crossed on the boat as a boatman eyes him suspiciously. He gets so carried away that he shouts to the heavens, proclaiming that the gods themselves are on his side. The boatman mutters that he's picked up a crazy passenger, but Bakley Woon apologizes for his outburst. He explains he's on his way to buy his dream mansion to establish his own sect. The boatman mentions there's only one mansion for sale, wondering aloud if it's the haunted one. Changing the subject quickly, the man wishes the young man's sect great prosperity, delighting the MC. He laughs joyfully, thinking that now all that's left is to sign the contract. Surely nothing can go wrong. But suddenly his expression darkens as a feeling of unease washes over him. Arriving at the location, an agent named Yurian greets him in front of a very ominous-looking mansion. Furious, our hero grabs the agent by the collar, accusing him of trying to pull a fast one. The protagonist complains that the place is a wreck, but the agent insists he'll explain everything after the tour. Yurian informs him the mansion has a total of 45 rooms and 5 training halls. When our hero asks which sect it belongs to, the seller claims not to know, saying it's ancient. The agent insists it will be perfect with a few repairs, but the young man remains skeptical. Sensing his client's frustration, Yurian decides to cut to the chase and reveal the property's real issue. He reveals the only catch is that every previous owner has perished there, leaving the MC stunned. According to the rumors, they all passed away on their very first night, hence the haunted reputation. Our hero is enraged, but Yurian quickly calms him by offering the mansion for a steal. With this new offer on the table, Bakley Woon's mood shifts, and he accepts the deal with a grin. The agent then praises the Miram Alliance captain's courage and hands over the deed. As the protagonist takes the document, a system message pops up, confirming his ownership. Suddenly, our hero begins to tremble, and the seller asks if everything is alright. Yuryang declares his job is done, telling the young man to find him if he survives the first night. With that, the agent leaves, thrilled with his commission, while the protagonist watches from the doorway. Alone in his new home, the young man takes a deep breath, steeling himself for whatever comes next. A moment later, he breaks into a joyous celebration, ecstatic to finally have his own mansion. The MC is overjoyed. Now all he needs are disciples to establish his new sect. But as he opens a door, a cloud of dust engulfs him, reminding him he has to clean the entire place. Without wasting a second, our hero rolls up his sleeves and gets to work scrubbing the floors. With a cloth tied around his face, he starts clearing the thick cobwebs from the ceiling. After most of the work is done, he flashes a satisfied smile while wiping down the last piece of furniture. Stepping out into the courtyard, he realizes only the main hall is left to be cleaned. Determined to finish, the protagonist throws open the hall doors with his arms outstretched. But upon entering, he is greeted by the sight of a mysterious sword resting on a stand in the center of the room. The young man approaches, wondering if the previous owner might have forgotten it there by chance. Thinking he struck gold, he picks up the weapon, imagining the money he could get for it. The instant he touches the sword, his eyes widen as a strange light envelops him. Abruptly, our hero finds himself transported to a futuristic, all-white space, completely bewildered. A system screen materializes, assessing him as a martial artist and awarding him the highest possible score. The MC grows even more confused, trying to make sense of the bizarre situation. All at once, he senses imminent danger and instinctively dodges an attack from above. Startled, he draws the sword from the stand, realizing it is incredibly real and sharp. Immediately after, the system announces that the test's difficulty is being recalibrated. It finally dawns on our hero that this must be what happened to all the previous owners. Looking up, he spots a strange mechanism on the ceiling, likely the source of the attack. Making the situation even more tense, the system announces the test will begin on extreme difficulty. Realizing he's being put to the test, he decides to face the challenge head-on. A new window appears, informing him that the challenge will be a test of martial prowess. Instantly, the ceiling mechanism begins to glow, preparing to unleash another assault. The protagonist braces for a fight, ready to show them why he was a captain in the Miram Alliance. Wielding the sword, he dares the mechanism to give him its best shot. However, while defending, he notices a distinct pattern in the attacks and pauses for a moment. But the sheer force of the blow sends our hero flying across the room. As he lands far away, he notices the attacks cease, concluding he is outside the system's range. This gives the young man a moment to breathe, but his sword has been completely shattered. Suddenly, a new sword rises from the floor, and he wonders if the system is providing him with another. Now armed with a new weapon, the MC realizes the rules of this test are more flexible than they first appeared. Our hero begins to analyze the situation, formulating a new strategy. He deduces that if the mechanism's range is limited, it must be protecting something important. With this insight, the young man charges toward the cannons, determined to uncover what lies beyond. With a spectacular leap, the protagonist soars over several of the strange weapons. But a glance upward reveals a new and highly unpleasant surprise that leaves him in shock. Dozens of new cannons emerge from the ceiling, unleashing a relentless barrage in his direction. The attacks are swift and numerous, turning the test into a chaotic battlefield. Though surrounded, our hero remains undaunted, expertly dodging and blocking every shot. He skillfully deflects the projectiles with his sword, displaying incredible combat prowess. The young man sustains a few minor cuts but stays completely focused on his objective. With a fierce battle cry, he extends his hand, preparing for a high-risk maneuver. The sword begins to crack under the immense pressure of the onslaught, threatening to break apart. Yet, the protagonist refuses to yield, facing the challenge with a look of pure fury. A massive explosion of blue energy erupts, engulfing the test room and obliterating everything in its path. As the smoke slowly dissipates, the result of the MC's final attack is revealed. Using a swift technique, he spins, creating a defensive whirlwind of energy around himself. While airborne, our hero unleashes another skill, generating a phantom field to disorient his foe. He then prepares his ultimate move, a powerful crescent slash, to end the test once and for all. The attack strikes its target dead on, creating a blinding flash of light that illuminates the entire area. The object that appeared to be the test's core finally shatters under the immense force of the blow. With the core destroyed, the protagonist plummets to the ground amidst a shower of flying debris. Back in the main hall, he lands hard, the exhaustion from the intense battle finally hitting him. To his surprise, however, the young man notices a few steel spheres are still intact. All at once, the hilt of the sword he was holding disintegrates into dust in his hand. At that very moment, a system window appears, announcing that the test has been successfully completed. Our hero looks around to see that the mansion has been fully restored, looking brand new. Another message confirms that he has passed the test of martial prowess with flying colors. The system informs him that the mansion's functions will now be unlocked at their highest level. A new sword, glowing with blue energy, floats down towards him, and he wonders what it is. The MC takes the sword, remarking that after all that, it's the least the system could do. A final message states that the test will conclude once he gives the mansion a name. With a confident smile, Baekli-woon declares the name was decided a long time ago. He proclaims with a powerful aura that his sect shall be called the Righteous Heaven Sect. The system confirms the mansion has been successfully registered under the name Righteous Heaven Sect. Following this, a glowing mark materializes on the protagonist's palm, the symbol of his new sect. The system then warns that from this moment forward, things are about to drastically change for him. Unafraid, our hero challenges any ghosts or spirits inhabiting the place to show themselves. But to his surprise, the system instead announces the initialization of the mansion's sect system. This unexpected information leaves Bakley Woon completely shocked and utterly confused. The entire mansion begins to glow and tremble, signaling that a profound transformation is underway. The next day, the protagonist is seen furiously chasing after Yuryang, shouting his name. The agent greets him with a casual smile, asking if he had a pleasant night. Our hero grabs him by the collar, furious that he wasn't warned about the system's appearance. He points at the system window only he can see, yelling that the thing followed him all night long. Seeing nothing, Yuryang asks if the young man hit his head and is now talking to himself. The agent warns that if this continues, he'll have to take the mansion back. Bakley Woon calms himself, stating he needs the mansion for now and will prepare for the ceremony. He asks for recommendations on where to get about 20 uniforms made for his future disciples. The man suggests some local fabric shops, but cautions that negotiating with them will be tough. He explains they are all vying for a lucrative contract with the prestigious Yellow Dragon Hall. This hall holds immense influence, having supplied fabrics to the imperial family for generations. But Yuryang tells the MC not to worry, as his budget is too small for their high-end materials anyway. The agent points him toward the fabric market, expressing doubt that anyone will do business with him due to the rumors. The protagonist finds it strange that a fresh rumor has already permeated the entire city. Yuryang simply sips his tea, remarking that gossip travels faster than the wind. With a threatening glare, the MC accuses him of spreading the rumor, but the agent calls it free publicity. The seller tries to justify it, arguing that the young man's survival proves the place isn't dangerous. Completely losing his temper, our hero yells that it's all Yuryang's fault for showing him that mansion in the first place. Later, the protagonist is seen trying to buy fabric, but the shop owner flatly refuses to sell. The man is adamant, trying to throw Bakley Woon out of his shop because of the sinister rumors. Someone in the crowd throws something at his face, telling the haunted man to get lost. Standing amidst the hostile crowd, the MC wonders why rumors spread with such incredible speed here. Suddenly, a cry for help cuts through the noise, and he turns to see a commotion brewing. A small boy is begging a man to save his sister, but the thug just calls him a brat and shoves him away. The boy then screams that the men deceived him, stealing his money under the false promise of a cure. An older man declares the boy's sister is a lost cause before striking him with a powerful blow. One of the aggressors from the White Sword sect orders the other to handle the situation quietly. The man grows irritated, saying the boy has now forced him to get his hands dirty. A wicked smile on his face, the goon prepares to strike the defenseless child. But out of nowhere, our hero intervenes, landing a powerful kick squarely in the bully's face. The force of the impact sends the man sprawling to the ground as the protagonist glares at him with contempt. His partner, shocked by the sudden turn of events, furiously demands to know who our hero is. Bakley Woon replies that while his name may not carry much weight, it's polite to answer when asked. A proud smile plays on his lips as our hero introduces himself, Bakley Woon, leader of the Righteous Heaven sect. Enraged, the thug attacks, shouting that the leader of some no-name sect has no right to interfere. The protagonist dodges the attack with ease, making it clear the man is no match for him. With a single strike, he breaks his opponent's arm, sending him crashing violently to the ground. The MC warns the stunned onlookers that judging someone by their sect's reputation is never wise. He adds that it's even worse when you have no idea of your opponent's true strength. Another goon charges forward, screaming to ask if our hero wants to make an enemy of the White Sword sect. The man lunges, ready to attack without a second thought for the consequences. But Bakley Woon remains unfazed, simply stating that he couldn't care less about their threats. Another sect member attempts a sneak attack from behind, but the protagonist defeats him just as easily. The last enemy standing suddenly recalls the rumors surrounding the former captain of the Miram Alliance. Across the street, Yuryang calmly watches the brawl unfold while sipping his tea. Our hero complains that he's already in a full mood from being unable to get uniforms because of the rumors. He challenges the last opponent to stop hiding and face him directly. With a taunting gesture, the MC beckons a goon to fight, showing absolutely no fear. The man accepts the challenge, vowing to teach our arrogant hero a lesson. The battle erupts as the two exchange powerful blows, kicking up dust and cracking the ground beneath them. The protagonist moves with fluid grace, effortlessly dodging the enemy's relentless attacks. He sidesteps another blow and prepares to launch a counter-attack to end the fight for good. With a swift and precise motion, Bakley Woon lands a decisive strike on his opponent. The punch connects solidly, and the final member of the enemy sect collapses to the ground in defeat. With his foe down, the protagonist confirms that this was in fact a challenge to their sect. He issues a warning: if they want a real fight, they are welcome at his sect anytime to settle the score. Radiating a powerful aura, the MC tells them to leave quietly unless they want things to escalate further. The defeated man swears our hero will regret this day as he and his partners retreat. After the fight, Bakley Woon approaches the boy and the old man to ask if they're alright. The boy, remembering the protagonist needed uniforms, offers his sister's services. He kneels and implores our hero to save his gravely ill sister. The young man tries to decline, insisting that this is a job for a doctor, not him. But the system detects a new trade opportunity, classifying the target as third grade. Surprised and curious, the MC asks the boy to elaborate on his sister's condition. The boy explains their parents passed away, leaving him and his sister to live on their own. He recounts how a recent illness caused her hands and feet to inexplicably freeze over. An older gentleman appears, introducing himself as the owner of a fabric shop from the next village. The man says the girl, a former employee, vanished, which is why he came looking for her. The boy then leads them to his home, a simple shack that looks like it could collapse at any moment. He rushes inside, announcing he's brought the ghost-catching warrior to help his sister. The protagonist feels awkward about the misunderstanding but is immediately struck by a strange energy. Inside the house, our hero is shocked to see the girl warming her hands and feet directly in a fire. The girl turns and asks who he is, while the protagonist struggles to comprehend the scene before him. Our hero realizes that despite having her hands and feet in the flames, the girl isn't being burned. The system warns that the fire's heat and the cold in her limbs are locked in a violent struggle. He introduces himself to the girl, whose name is Siowa, and explains her brother asked for his help. The young woman explains that if she doesn't do this, she suffers from severe frostbite, which puzzles him. The gentleman asks how Siowa is, and she replies that her condition has worsened over the last few days. The protagonist then asks to check her pulse to get a better understanding of her ailment. Taking the girl's hand, he begins channeling his energy to analyze her body. A blue aura envelopes them both as the young man concentrates on assessing the girl's energy flow. As he does, he feels a powerful, chilling energy emanating from young Siowa's body. The system alerts him that she is absorbing a dangerous amount of yin energy. Our hero tells the system to be quiet and focuses on diagnosing the girl's condition. After his analysis, he announces that he understands what's happening, leaving the girl surprised and curious. The young man reveals she possesses an extreme yin body, an incredibly rare and powerful constitution. He explains he's heard that the legendary Sword Empress, one of the 10 strongest masters, has the same body type. The girl is astonished to learn she shares a condition with such a legendary figure. The MC clarifies that for a martial artist this is a blessing, but for her, it's a critical problem. He warns her that if she continues absorbing yin energy at this rate, her life force will be depleted within 3 months. Siowa is horrified by the news, realizing the bad feeling she had was a premonition. Her brother shouts that it must be a lie, but our hero confirms that even medicine won't work. He explains that medicine would only suppress the symptoms, and they would return even stronger later. Our hero states that the key is yang energy, but the system chimes in with its own information. The system displays an item called Essence Water, which can be obtained by completing a mission. This water can restore the health of Sect members, costing 50 essence points per use. The system's current mission is to recruit a disciple, with a reward of 50 units of essence water. A clever idea forming, the protagonist realizes he can solve 2 problems at once. With an excited smile, he says that while he isn't certain, he believes he's found a way to help. The young man then extends a hand to Siowa, inviting her to become his very first disciple. The siblings are left completely stunned by our hero's sudden and unexpected offer. With a sincere gaze, our MC asks them to place their trust in him just this once. The young waifu hesitates, admitting she has never learned martial arts before. She recalls that the mirror world is filled with people who preach justice but act only for themselves. It was because of such conflicts that her parents were caught in the crossfire and met a terrible fate. The girl voices her suspicion that he might be just like the others, ready to abandon her after a false show of help. The protagonist patiently keeps his hand extended, awaiting her decision. In that moment, the girl notices his hand is frozen from when he touched her earlier. But he dismisses it, saying it's a small price to pay if it means he can truly heal her. Her eyes widening, she starts to believe that perhaps this man really is different. Making her decision, the young woman resolves to trust him one last time, hoping for a cure. With a brilliant smile, the girl finally takes his hand, accepting his proposal. At that instant, the system confirms the mission is complete, awarding him 50 essence water. The system also notes that the contact with yin energy caused a minor injury to our hero's hand. Unconcerned, he immediately uses the newly acquired essence water to begin the recovery process. Siowa gasps in shock, exclaiming that her hands are finally warming up after such a long time. A system window confirms that the new Sect member's recovery rate has been boosted. A satisfied smile appears on the protagonist's face as he sees his wild plan is actually working. To accelerate the healing, the system applies an additional recovery effect to the girl. A blue aura surrounds the young waifu as the restoration of her health finally begins in earnest. The MC feels the yang energy flowing back in her body and focuses even more intently on the healing. The system then confirms the new disciple's yang energy is being successfully restored. The girl stares at her hands, now glowing with warmth, unable to believe her eyes. She exclaims that her hands and feet are healing, while her brother celebrates the news with pure joy. The gentleman asks if he used energy arts to heal her, and Bakley Woon confirms it was something similar. Our hero lets out a soft chuckle as the old man watches, thoroughly impressed by the display. The man praises him, saying he now understands why the leader of the Miram Alliance holds him in such high regard. Bakley Woon is surprised to learn that this gentleman is acquainted with the powerful Alliance leader. The man then realizes he forgot to properly introduce himself, revealing his name is Cheon Gamyong. He announces that he is the master of the Yellow Dragon Hall, leaving the protagonist completely stunned. The scene cuts to the headquarters of the White Sword Sect, where the atmosphere is thick with tension. The defeated members are kneeling before their leader, who is berating them for their humiliating performance. Without a shred of mercy, the leader punishes one of his own men with a brutal and violent strike. The sect leader snarls that physical pain is nothing compared to the humiliation he is about to face. He then orders his men to drag the failures to the punishment chamber without a moment's hesitation. The defeated men plead for forgiveness, begging for one last chance to redeem themselves. The leader ignores their cries, his mind fixed on the name of our hero Baekley Woon from the new sect. A wicked smile curls on his lips as he decides to prepare a grand welcoming party for the young man. Back at the siblings' home, the protagonist stands in silence, processing the massive revelation. He asks for confirmation, is the gentleman truly the renowned master of the Yellow Dragon Hall? The man laughs, admitting he had a feeling our hero was no ordinary individual. Baekley Woon apologizes for not recognizing him sooner, but the master waves it off, saying it's fine. The hall master then extends an invitation for him to join his guild, promising his full and unwavering support. The protagonist is taken aback by such an offer from one of the most powerful and influential guilds. The system detects a new business partner, classifying him as a first-grade priority. Our hero is well aware that the Dragon Hall holds enough power to influence the entire Miram Alliance. He recognizes it as a golden opportunity, yet it's not the future he envisions for himself. With a polite smile, the young man expresses his gratitude for the offer but respectfully declines the invitation. He explains that he has just accepted his first disciple, and his focus must now be on her. The master is infuriated by the rejection, questioning if he dares to refuse such a prestigious offer. But the protagonist counters with a proposal of his own, asking for a chance to form a business partnership instead. The hall master's temper flares at the audacity, accusing the young man of repaying kindness with arrogance. Baekley Woon makes a bold promise that in 10 years, he will build a sect as powerful as the 10 greatest in Miram. The hall master finds the claim utterly ridiculous, scoffing at the idea that it could be done in just 10 years. He bursts into laughter, declaring that our hero is full of nothing but absurd pronouncements. But Baekley Woon clarifies that the fame he promised isn't for himself, which confuses the master. With a clever look, the young man asks to meet the master's disciple to negotiate the hall's future. The hall master grinds his teeth in frustration but ultimately agrees to our hero's audacious proposal. He warns that while he will send his disciple, the final agreement will depend on the young man's judgment. However, he adds one condition: if the new sect disappoints him in any way, our protagonist will have to bear full responsibility, as the spectral image of a dragon looms behind the master. With the image of a white tiger appearing behind him, Baekley Woon assures the master he has nothing to worry about. Seeing his unshakable confidence, the master finally relents and accepts the terms of the agreement. Cheon Gamyeon then orders his men to bring the silk, leaving the protagonist and the siblings surprised. His men appear with a cart overflowing with bolts of the highest quality fabrics. He explains this is the contract fee, and the siblings stare in awe at the valuable materials. The protagonist expresses his thanks, privately noting how advanced the master's hidden guards are. Meanwhile, the master reflects that the young man's brand of arrogance is one he himself possesses. Now inside his carriage, he instructs his subordinate to take him to a very specific destination. The master wishes to visit an old friend, asking to be taken to the headquarters of the Unorthodox Alliance. Instead, he asks for a chance to do business with the Yellow Dragon Hall. The master grows irritated, saying he offered friendship and was met with pure arrogance in return. But the young man reiterates his 10-year promise, asking if that's not a good enough prospect. Trying on his new uniform, the protagonist is pleased, commenting on how easy it is to move in. A system message confirms the garment was masterfully crafted by a skilled artisan. Immediately after, the system prompts him to choose a reward, which catches him off guard. His options are a book of sorcery, a rare medicine, or the unlocking of an exclusive trait. A smile touching his lips, he carefully considers the options before selecting the one that appeals to him most. He chooses to unlock an exclusive trait, a mysterious and unique ability. This new skill allows him to unlock the hidden traits of any disciple who joins his sect. The system displays Sioa's details, revealing her natural talent but also her poor physical condition. Her current traits are diligence, adversity, and responsibility, but she lacks the energy to develop new ones. Our hero then wonders why he is unable to select a new trait for his disciple. The system explains that the disciple must first increase her own power level. Determined, he decides to train her until she is strong enough to evolve her abilities. Without wasting a moment, he announces that her training begins now, surprising the pair. The young waifu grows nervous at the thought, wondering if she's even capable of learning martial arts. She remembers how he saved her, but a fear of messing everything up still lingers. The memory of his encouraging words reassures her, making her believe that it will all work out. With a smile, she decides to put her full trust in him, eagerly asking what she will learn first. Our hero then reveals that her first lesson will be the famous horse riding stance. The girl sighs in disappointment. She had been hoping for something a bit more exciting. He explains it's essential for her conditioning, and that the training session will last for a full hour. The girl falls silent for a moment, processing her new master's command. With doubt in her eyes, she asks if he truly believes she can learn martial arts. The protagonist explains that her yin energy is so potent that it accumulates naturally within her body. He believes he can't pass up the opportunity to train someone born with a perfect constitution for it. Suddenly, Yurian comes running and shouting towards our hero's mansion. The agent arrives out of breath, carrying an urgent letter from the White Sword Sect. The young man is puzzled by the delivery, wondering what those guys could possibly want now. He recalls the confrontation from the day before and deduces the letter must be related to it. Our hero takes the letter to find out what the rival sect is planning. Upon reading it, he discovers the White Sword Sect is hosting a duel tournament. Yuriang explains their leader is notorious for his full temper and cruel nature. The agent warns him that the leader takes great pleasure in humiliating weaker sects at these events. But Yuriang finds it odd, as the leader usually only targets sects of a similar standing. He dismisses the protagonist's sect as new and unknown, earning an angry glare from our hero. A confident smile spreads across Bakley Woon's face. He declares this is the perfect opportunity to make a name for their sect. Siowa, however, looks worried, wondering if they'll be safe participating in the tournament. She points out that it's just the two of them, and she's afraid of being a burden to her master. The protagonist then drops a bombshell. She will be the one competing in the tournament alone. The young waifu blushes, thinking she needs to try even harder since she'll be competing solo. But as the reality of his words sinks in, she lets out a desperate scream at the idea of fighting alone. Exhausted from her training, Siowa complains that her master is pushing her too hard with the horse stance. She grumbles that she's only practiced sword swinging for an hour and hasn't learned anything practical. With the duel just 2 weeks away, the girl is growing increasingly anxious about her lack of preparation. She can't help but wonder what her master is thinking, sticking to such a basic training regimen. Our hero tells her not to worry, casually mentioning he's going out to pick a fight in the street. The young waifu tries to follow him, only to find he wasn't actually sleeping as she thought. Curious, she peeks closer and sees him clumsily trying to sew something, pricking his fingers in the process. The system teases him for injuring himself for the 23rd time, and he tells it to shut up. The protagonist knows she's starting to question his methods, so he's determined to finish the new clothes quickly. He truly hopes his disciple will appreciate the surprise he's working so hard to prepare. The girl watches him in silence, deeply moved to see her master putting in so much effort for her sake. A system window notifies them that her responsibility trade is on the verge of blossoming. The protagonist is surprised by the sudden and unexpected notification. The scene shifts to the day of the duel, hosted by the dreaded White Sword Sect. A few men are discussing the tournament, confused as to why such a large event is being held. One explains that rumors have spread, and the leader wants to make an example out of the MC's sect. A bystander remarks that anyone who crosses the White Sword Sect is in for a world of trouble. Our hero and his disciple arrive to register, and the receptionist does a double take. The man is completely enchanted by Siowa's beauty, wondering if the sect only recruits good-looking people. The protagonist simply observes with a discreet smile as his disciple completes the registration. The protagonist tries to hide his face with his hair, clearly embarrassed by the situation. He asks if she likes her gift, and she replies that despite the clumsy stitching, she absolutely loves it. The scene cuts to the tournament stage, where the leader of the White Sword Sect makes his appearance. He announces the start of the event, claiming it was created to foster friendship between the sects. The leader then reveals he has prepared a small gift for the tournament's grand champion. As he opens the box, the crowd gasps in shock at the sight of a minor blue pill, an extremely rare item. It is one of the elixirs from Wudang, known to help warriors solidify their energy flow. The crowd erupts in excitement over the prize, praising the sect leader's generosity. One of the organizers reports that the preparations for the tournament's preliminary rounds are complete. The leader looks down on the crowd with disdain, inwardly calling them fools for getting so worked up. With a malevolent smirk, he vows to ensure that no one will ever dare oppose his sect again. He orders his men to demonstrate their superior power and utterly crush every opponent they face. The first phase of the tournament kicks off, with fighters taking their positions in the arena. The young waifu grips her wooden staff, her hands trembling and her face a mask of pure nervousness. She asks her master if she can really do this, and he just watches her with a calm expression. He reminds her of their training, but she protests that she only ever practiced the horse stance. Our hero then tells her to trust him, assuring her that he has prepared her for this very moment. He guarantees that she is far stronger than she used to be, which surprises the girl. A determined smile replaces her fear as the disciple vows to do her best, placing her faith in her master. The protagonist then announces that the preliminary rounds of the tournament are about to begin. Siowa introduces herself as a disciple from the Righteous Heavens sect and her opponent from the Blue Moon sect. Her opponent scoffs, saying she looks like she's never even swung a sword in her life. The girl admits she's only been training for a month, and he calls her insane for even participating. The judge signals the start of the match, and her opponent moves in, ready to teach her a lesson. But Siowa attacks first, channeling all her strength into a single devastating blow. The man is sent flying by the sheer force of the impact, landing hard on the arena floor, stunned. The crowd and the judge are left in stunned silence by Siowa's instantaneous victory. Her opponent can hardly process that he was defeated so quickly by a single strike. The judge remains frozen in place as the crowd murmurs, wondering how the fight ended so fast. Our hero simply smiles, remarking that this is why he told her to believe in herself. The judge finally snaps out of it and declares Siowa of the Righteous Heavens sect the winner, and she celebrates. The protagonist explains that over the past weeks, he taught her the mindset of a true martial artist. He knows that novices often hold back, afraid of hurting their opponents, and thus never use their full power. But Siowa is different. She can unleash her full potential without fear setting her apart. The young waifu celebrates her victory with her master, who congratulates her on a job well done. He confidently predicts that she will easily advance to the main round of the tournament. This frees him up to observe other competitors who might be worthy of his attention. The next fight features Jingguang from the feared and powerful White Sword Sect. Jingguang effortlessly demonstrates his strength, defeating his opponent with a single, powerful blow. The protagonist watches the match with keen interest, mentally preparing for what's to come. But even in defeat, the opponent refuses to yield and attempts another desperate attack. Jingguang shows no mercy, continuing to strike his already fallen opponent. The judge tries to intervene, shouting for him to stop since the match has already been decided. Ignoring the judge, the White Sword Sect fighter finishes his opponent with a final, brutal blow. The victory is announced, and Jingguang just clicks his tongue, his face a mask of pure contempt. Our hero observes this, finding it ridiculous that he's playing games despite the obvious difference in skill. Siowa runs up excitedly, telling her master she has successfully made it to the main round. She proudly recounts how she won easily by using her full strength, just as he taught her. Suddenly, the young waifu feels a sinister aura emanating from Jingguang and is visibly frightened. The protagonist warns her that she will most likely be facing him in the next round. The leader of the White Sword Sect approaches them, offering congratulations for reaching the main round. He gives a fake apology for his disciple's rudeness, and our hero returns the jab with a sharp retort. The leader then praises the girl for her progress, but taunts her about her upcoming match. He offers her a place in his sect, should she lose her next fight. Our hero steps in, thanking him for the praise but adding that his disciples weren't so bad after all. The leader is clearly confused by this comment and stares at him with deep suspicion. He then summons one of his men and orders him to carry out a mysterious plan. The leader bristles at his audacity, accusing the young man of repaying kindness with arrogance. Baek Woon promises that in 10 years he will create a sect as powerful as the 10 greatest in Miram. The young waifu celebrates the victory with her master, and he congratulates her on a job well done. The sect leader instructs his men to escort the guests to their quarters, a false smile plastered on his face. Our hero and his disciple follow the guide in silence, wary of his true intentions. The man introduces himself as Wang Pao, the disciple assigned to guide them through the sect. He leads them to their rooms and makes to leave as quickly as possible. But the protagonist stops him and begins to compliment him in a strangely suspicious manner. He remarks that the young man is tall and has a good physique, leaving Wang Pao flustered and confused. The guide quickly excuses himself from the quarters, unnerved by our hero's odd behavior. Siowa expresses her anxiety about the next fight, but Baek Woon suddenly changes the subject. He asks what she thinks about making Wang Pao their newest disciple, leaving the girl utterly shocked. The scene flashes back, revealing how the sect leader first recruited a young Wang Pao. He had praised the boy's physique and talent, inviting him to join the sect. Overjoyed, Wang Pao had gratefully accepted the opportunity to become a disciple. In the present, we see Jingguang defeating him in a training match and publicly humiliating him. The crowd is impressed by Jingguang's victory over someone 3 years his senior. Wang Pao begs him to stop, but Jingguang mercilessly continues his assault. The sect leader realizes he had misjudged the boy, who was far weaker than he first appeared. He casts him aside, condemning him to a life of cleaning up after the other disciples. Wang Pao is left devastated by his leader's words, feeling completely and utterly betrayed. He jolts awake from a nightmare, covered in a cold sweat, his heart pounding from the traumatic memory. Wiping his face, he realizes with relief that it was just a bad dream. But to his horror, Jingguang appears in his room, announcing it's time for a warm-up before the duel. Wang Pao tries to refuse, saying he doesn't feel well, but Jingguang couldn't care less. He cruelly tells him that his only purpose is to serve as a living punching bag. Left with no choice, the young man gets to his feet, bracing himself to be beaten once again. The tournament semifinals kick off, with an excited crowd filling the main arena. Our hero explains to Siowa that her next opponent is a user of the illusion sword. When he asks how she plans to defeat him, she replies that she just needs to avoid being deceived. The protagonist smiles, telling her there's an even simpler way to win this fight. He points towards the sky, offering a cryptic clue for his disciple to use in the upcoming battle. With a confident look, the MC assures her that with this knowledge, she is certain to win the duel. Yuriang shows up and congratulates our hero on Siowa's incredible progress. But Baek Woon says he'll only accept congratulations after she has won the entire tournament. The girl's opponent taunts her, claiming her lucky streak ends here, and that everyone expects her to lose. The young waifu stands her ground, retorting that her master's belief in her is all that matters. The enemy laughs, calling both her and her sect leader crazy for their misplaced confidence. The fight begins and Siowa charges forward, determined to win and prove her master right. The young waifu celebrates the victory with her master, and he congratulates her on a job well done. Our hero just smiles and says that's why he told her to believe in herself. He gets angry at the audacity and accuses the young man of repaying his kindness with arrogance. The hallmaster finds the proposal ridiculous and doubts he can achieve that in 10 years. The two begin to exchange a flurry of fast and precise blows, showcasing their impressive combat skills. The enemy commends the girl's courage, but she knows she can't let her guard down for a single second. The young waifu recognizes his fundamentals are on another level entirely, forcing her to be cautious. Suddenly, her opponent retreats, a change in strategy that catches her by surprise. The man taunts her for falling back and prepares to employ his illusion techniques. The girl realizes she must keep her focus centered to avoid falling for his tricks. Wielding two staffs, the enemy launches a dual attack, aiming to confuse and strike simultaneously. The blow is swift and powerful, but Siowa manages to parry it with her own staff. She successfully blocks the attack, but the force of the impact sends her stumbling backward. Her enemy is surprised she managed to block his special move and offers a word of praise. Admitting he underestimated her, he unleashes his purple aura, preparing to fight with his full power. With a malevolent grin, he launches a volley of energy blasts toward our heroine. The attacks come from all sides fast and relentless, making them incredibly difficult to defend against. The young waifu stays on high alert, trying to dodge the incoming blast, but the situation is dire. The protagonist explains that users of the illusion sword are typically weak in close quarters combat. He tells her that if she can just get close enough, victory is assured. With a determined glint in her eye, Siowa declares she's just getting started and charges forward. She sprints towards her enemy, skillfully weaving through the barrage of energy attacks. Her opponent is taken aback by her speed and commends her impressive combat ability. The girl continues to evade the attacks, closing the distance to her target with each step. But the enemy sneers that her movements are too predictable and lands a solid hit. The attack sends her to the ground, and her opponent declares himself the winner with a triumphant smile. Yuryang is shocked by her apparent defeat, but our hero remains calm and confident. Her opponent gloats over his victory, but the young waifu pushes herself back to her feet, insisting it's not over. She picks up 2 staffs, preparing to continue the fight despite her exhaustion. Underestimating her again, the enemy charges forward, intending to end the match once and for all. But the girl leaps into the air, dodging all of his attacks with breathtaking agility. The man is stunned to see that she has completely evaded his special attack. With a battle cry, she declares the fight is over now and moves in for the final blow. Unleashing the second form of her arts, she lands a devastating strike squarely on her opponent. With the victory secured, the protagonist celebrates while Yuryang stares in disbelief. The defeated opponent accuses the girl of cheating, claiming she faked her earlier fall. Another man defends him, arguing there's no way he could have lost to such a young girl. The leader of the White Sword Sect appears and reprimands his disciple for his lack of grace. The man bows, offering an apology to our hero for his disciple's poor sportsmanship. The leader concedes defeat, stating it was his own man's fault for underestimating his opponent. With a look of pure rage, he formally declares that the White Sword Sect accepts its loss. Our hero just smiles and says that's why he told her to believe in herself. The protagonist explains that over the past few weeks, he taught her the mindset of a martial artist. He knows that novices are afraid of hurting their opponents and don't use their full strength. The crowd goes wild, cheering for Siowa's victory over the disciple from the White Sword Sect. The young waifu celebrates with her master, who then invites her and Yuryang to dinner. From a distance, the leader of the White Sword Sect watches their celebration, his eyes burning with rage. He summons Wong Pal and orders him to poison the girl's food with a paralyzing agent. The leader's plan is to slow her down in the final match, allowing Jingguang to finish her easily. But Wong Pal refuses to obey the order, earning a sharp slap across the face from his leader. The man calls him a fool, snarling that this is why he will never surpass the other disciples. He strikes him again, but our hero appears, interrupting with a sarcastic remark. The leader is startled to see the protagonist there and glares at him with pure hatred. Our MC accuses him of being rude and meddling in the affairs of another sect without permission. He remarks that the punishment was far too severe, reminding him that a leader's duty is to guide, not abuse. The leader tells him to mind his own business, but the protagonist says he has business with him. With a challenging gaze, he demands that the leader of the White Sword Sect hand over Wong Pal. The young man is in shock at the request, unable to understand why he would be wanted by the other sect. Our hero states that his methods are a better fit for Wong Pal than those of the White Sword Sect. The leader accuses Wong Pal of betrayal, claiming he went behind his back to conspire with the rival sect. The boy denies everything, pleading with his leader to believe him, but it's too late. A wicked smile spreads across the man's face as he accepts the proposal and gives Wong Pal to our hero. But Siowa is able to use all her power without fear, and that makes her different from the others. He believes she will easily reach the main round of the tournament without any problems. The leader proposes a wager. The winning sect gets to take one disciple from the losing sect. The young waifu feels a sudden chill, wondering why her master has disappeared. The man claims Siowa as a talent being wasted in a small sect like his. Our hero agrees to the bet, accepting the terms of the challenge laid out by the leader. Yuryang scolds him for taking the joke too far, but he refuses to back down from his decision. The rival sect's leader walks away, eagerly anticipating the disappearance of his opponent's only disciple. Bakley Woon approaches Wong Pal, asking him why he thinks he was chosen for this. He advises the boy to think carefully, hinting there was a reason he allowed himself to be taken. Yuryang asks if Siowa is aware of the bet, and our hero confidently replies that everything will work out. He approaches his disciple and asks if she can win the duel, even with so much pressure on her. The girl says she'll give it her all, and he reminds her that her chances are 50-50. With a reassuring smile, he tells her that he has faith in her, and knows she is capable of winning. Motivated by her master's words, the young waifu accepts the challenge, ready to give it her best shot. The system announces that the seed of responsibility within Siowa has finally begun to sprout. The leader of the White Sword Sect warns Jingguang not to let his guard down in the final match. He orders him to win at all costs, lest they face even greater humiliation. The young man advises him to be cautious and not as careless as her previous opponent was. Jingguang scoffs at the advice, saying he's overestimating a beginner's luck and cheap tricks. He vows to shatter all their false hopes and demonstrate the true power of his sect. Our hero just smiles and says that's why he told her to believe in herself. The judge announces the beginning of the grand final, and the two competitors face off in the arena. Jingguan commends her for making it this far but declares that her luck runs out now. Siowa confidently retorts that no one knows the outcome until the fight is truly over. The man assumes that as a beginner with limited energy, she will resort to sneaky tactics. But to his astonishment, the young waifu charges forward, launching a direct head-on assault. The blow catches him completely off guard, forcing him to retreat to avoid a direct hit. He is shocked by her raw power, realizing her energy is far greater than he had anticipated. Our hero explains that while his assumption was logical, she possesses a significant advantage. Thanks to her extreme yin body, she naturally accumulates vast reserves of energy, making her incredibly powerful. Siowa continues to attack with everything she has, knowing this is her only chance to win. She leaps in the air for an aerial strike, but her enemy manages to defend just in time. He counters with a kick, the force of which sends her flying across the arena. As the girl hits the ground, he seizes the opportunity to launch a finishing blow. He admits her energy is above average but still dismisses her as a mere beginner. Jingguan unleashes a powerful technique, sending her airborne with a devastating upward strike. The young waifu realizes her opponent is immensely strong and that she needs a new strategy to win. He promises to finish her in 10 seconds and relentlessly pressures her with a flurry of attacks. But the girl refuses to give in, declaring she won't lose the fight so easily. With a determined fire in her eyes, she prepares to unleash her full power and turn the tide of the battle. The Hall Master finds the proposal ridiculous and doubts he can achieve that in 10 years. Suddenly, the system announces that Siowa's responsibility trait has been activated during the fight. As the girl blocks another attack, a new system window appears with additional information. Her traits of diligence and adversity are merging into a new, more powerful disposition. Her eyes begin to glow as she feels her power surging and a new ability awakening within her. The system announces that the unique trait, Clear Mind, has manifested in the young warrior. With her newfound ability, she effortlessly dodges an attack, stunning her opponent. In extreme situations, her reasoning and judgment are now drastically enhanced, giving her a critical edge. With a battle cry, she evades another strike and prepares to launch her counter-attack. In a swift move, she manages to disarm her enemy, sending his weapon flying. The man praises her for lasting this long but prepares to use his ultimate technique. He charges forward at full power, asking if she can withstand his final attack. The young waifu braces herself, preparing to defend against the devastating incoming blow. The rival sect's leader screams that the fight is over, causing our hero to despair for a brief moment. She recalls her master's words, and her confidence is instantly renewed, ready to continue the fight. The opponent's strike creates a massive dust explosion, destroying a large section of the arena. The man is thrown backward by the force of the impact, collapsing to the ground in utter defeat. The protagonist is stunned by the outcome, and Yurian can't believe what he just witnessed. The rival sect leader recognizes the technique, wondering if it's the legendary Yin Cold Energy art. With her hand glowing with blue energy, Siowa prepares to unveil her new technique. She unleashes the third technique of her basic arts, a powerful ability brimming with energy. The girl utilizes her single-point technique, preparing for the final strike of the match. With a faint smile, she remarks that the technique is a bit cold, but incredibly powerful. But the exertion of the ability is too much, and she collapses in the arena, causing her master to rush to her side. The protagonist leaps into the arena to aid his disciple, but the judge attempts to stop him. He shouts that the result has already been decided, but our hero ignores the rules. The fallen opponent and the judge are left speechless by the sect leader's decisive action. With one final effort, the judge announces Siowa as the victor, and the crowd erupts in cheers. The young waifu awakens in her master's arms, celebrating her victory with a huge smile. The leader of the White Sword sect is seething with rage, feeling his sect has been utterly humiliated. Our hero asks if she can stand, carefully helping in her feet. With a proud grin, she tells him she fulfilled her promise and won the grand final. He congratulates her on her victory, praising her for fighting so brilliantly throughout the tournament. Yuryang celebrates the win, and the protagonist tells him to make the official announcement. He declares that the grand champion of the tournament is Siowa, from the Righteous Heavens sect. Beaming with joy, the girl soaks in the victory and the adoration of the crowd. Our hero seizes the moment to announce the official founding ceremony of his sect. He invites everyone to the event, scheduled for 1 month from now, causing a massive stir. The crowd is stunned to learn that the winning sect has not even been officially established yet. The rival sect leader accuses him of using his sect merely to promote his own founding event. He claims our hero deliberately hid the Yin Cold Energy art, deceiving him all along. But suddenly Wang Pao steps in, grabbing his former leader's arm to stop him. He urges the leader to maintain his dignity and not act so rashly. The man accuses him of siding with the rival sect and attacks him with his purple energy. He screams that traitors must be dealt with immediately, sending Wang Pao into a panic. But our hero intervenes, blocking the attack and saving the young man's life. He demands to know what the leader thinks he's doing, staring him down with a serious expression. Bakley Woon reminds him that Wang Pao is now a disciple of his sect and must be shown respect. He challenges him to a fight if he is still unsatisfied with the tournament's outcome. The rival sect leader backs down, abandoning the fight out of fear of our hero's power. He tells the protagonist to do as he pleases and storms off, fuming from the humiliation. The man swears that he will never forget the indignity he suffered on this day. Wang Pao wonders if someone as untalented as him can truly start anew. Our hero encourages him, insisting that he is already a fine martial artist and can prove it. The young man recalls all the humiliation he has endured, feeling a sense of hopelessness. But with a determined look, He thanks the protagonist and promises to give it his all. A system window confirms that Wang Pal has officially become the sect's second disciple. But Xiaohua is able to use all her power without fear, and that makes her different from the others. The leader gets angry at his audacity and accuses the young man of repaying his kindness with arrogance. He knows that novices are afraid of hurting their opponents, and don't use their full strength. He believes she will easily reach the main round of the tournament without any problems. As the tournament concludes, Yuryang remarks that our hero is taking all the credit for the victory. 2 weeks later, on a sunny and peaceful day, we see the sect's mansion. Wang Pal is practicing the horse stance, privately questioning the effectiveness of such basic training. Xiaohua laughs when he calls her big sister and playfully slaps him on the back. She reminds him that their leader always emphasizes the fundamentals and that he should trust their master. The young waifu encourages him to keep training so he can one day be as strong as her. Wang Pal boasts about his physical strength, so she challenges him to fetch the water by himself to prove it. The system analyzes the new disciple, revealing he has an excellent physique and immense raw talent. Our hero observes his disciples, feeling confident that his judgment about them was correct. He notes that Wang Pal's unique talent lies in his ability to understand techniques and maintain complete focus. With Xiaohua and Wang Pal, he believes he has the perfect combination for a successful sect. Yuryang arrives and the protagonist thanks him for his help with the ceremony preparations. The agent reports that thanks to the tournament publicity, they have received a flood of RSVPs. However, he reveals that one of the letters is actually an official order from the powerful and feared Miram Alliance. Our hero falls silent for a moment, caught off guard by the unexpected news. Opening the letter, he discovers the Alliance has issued a request for a plagiarism review. The accusation is directed against the basic arts of the Bakley clan, which infuriates the protagonist. Yuryang reminds him that 15 years have passed since he left his former clan. Our hero retorts that it's just like them to strike when an opponent is most vulnerable. He explains that his arts are the culmination of 15 years of personal enlightenment and have no connection to the clan. He knows that if the Alliance inspector sides with his clan, escaping the charge will be difficult. If he fails the review, he'll be forbidden from teaching his arts and will face a massive fine. Xiaohua calls out to him, and he realizes that a second review would be even more stringent. Without another word, our hero decides to head out and handle the situation immediately. He must prove his arts are not plagiarized, which will require checking the arts of other sects. The problem is, he has no idea where to find the basic arts manuals of other sects. Suddenly, his disciples call out, interrupting his worried train of thought. They announce that the sect has visitors, a piece of news that surprises our hero. 2 strangers arrive at the mansion, one of whom warns the other not to touch anything without permission. Our protagonist confronts them, demanding to know who they are and what business they have at his sect. The pair introduces themselves as members of the Celestial Squadron and salute their former captain. Xiaohua looks on in confusion, not understanding why they are addressing him with that title. A smile forms on our hero's face as he realizes their visit might just turn the tables in his favor. Meanwhile, Yuryang worries about the Bakley clan's deep-rooted connections within the Alliance. Knowing the Alliance will likely favor the clan, he considers backing out of their partnership. But his associate advises him not to waver, stating that this challenge is on a whole different level. Yuryang then makes a decision and writes a letter, instructing his man to deliver it immediately. He decides to raise the stakes by involving the Unorthodox Alliance in the dispute. With a wicked grin, he concludes that the best defense is a strong offense and springs into action. He knows that novices are afraid of hurting their opponents and don't use their full strength. Elsewhere, the leader of the Bakley clan complains about his members provoking our hero's new sect. Bakley Changxiang retorts that it was his personal decision and the patriarch should not interfere. He argues that the leader's eldest son lacks talent, while his daughter is talented but too impulsive. The patriarch counters that there are no rules against a woman leading, so that isn't the issue. Changxiu accuses him of letting the protagonist leave, despite knowing his immense potential. He reminds him how brilliant and pure-hearted the young man once was, a true prodigy of their clan. The patriarch agrees, stating they must remind our hero of his true place in the world. The Council of Elders decrees that he must be made to understand his roots will always lie with the Bakley clan. The protagonist's father says adversity is essential for growth, and this is a lesson he must learn. He orders Changxiang to go and show the young man that he will forever be under the clan's domain. Changxiang vows to personally bring our hero back to the clan, no matter the cost. The scene shifts to the day of the founding ceremony for the new and promising Righteous Heavens sect. An Alliance strategist confidently states not to worry, as no sect has ever emerged from a review unscathed. Changxiang replies that he isn't worried, as he intends to bring the protagonist back regardless of the outcome. The strategist doesn't grasp his obsession, but Changxiang explains the young man is more than just family. He believes that if the protagonist had never left, he would have become the greatest sword master of his generation. He insists that even though he abandoned the clan, his talent is still vital for their future. A large crowd gathers, everyone eager to see how Bakley Woon will respond to his former clan's summons. With a powerful blast, the mansion gates swing open, and all eyes turn expectantly towards the entrance. Our hero emerges, ready to face the challenge from his old clan head-on. The system alerts him that his heart rate is elevated and advises him to take a deep breath. Suddenly, a figure leaps from the crowd and rushes towards our hero. With a mighty battle cry, the man unleashes his opening the heavens technique, attacking everyone present. The wave of energy crashes into the crowd, and the clan members scramble to defend themselves. Chang Xiong and the others are stunned by the man's sudden and unexpected assault. Our hero appears, holding a large banner, ready for the impending confrontation. He introduces himself as the leader of the Righteous Heaven Sect, and thanks everyone for attending. But before proceeding, he announces that he must first resolve an important matter with them all. In a serious tone, he prepares to address the plagiarism accusation levied against his sect. He announces that his sect stands accused of plagiarizing the martial arts of the Bakley clan. The crowd is shocked by this revelation, and Yurian can't believe he's admitting it so openly. Some murmur, wondering if he just confessed, while others find the situation deeply intriguing. Chang Xiong assumes our hero is about to surrender, but the protagonist has something else in mind. He turns to face the crowd, preparing to unveil his true plan. With a confident smirk, he announces that the Alliance inspection team is present at the ceremony. He invites the Alliance members to step forward so they can settle the matter once and for all. Chang Xiong greets the man, and the crowd recognizes him as the legendary Moon Sword. Our hero then invites him to explain the intentions behind the plagiarism accusation. In a defiant tone, he declares his wish to undergo a public plagiarism verification. He intends to prove his innocence in front of everyone and clear his new sect's name. Chang Xiong is outraged by this proposal, stating that such verifications are strictly confidential. The Alliance strategist reprimands him, reminding him their purpose is to mediate, not condemn. Our hero knows that with so many other sects watching, the Alliance cannot afford to appear biased. He asks if they may begin, and the inspectors reluctantly agree to proceed with the public verification. The protagonist announces he will demonstrate one of his basic arts. He executes his first technique, showcasing his movements for the crowd and the inspectors. The demonstration of talent and power leaves everyone impressed. The strategist asks if this is the technique in question, and our hero confirms that it is. Chang Xiong points out that the technique also appears to borrow elements from the Namgun clan. The protagonist then makes a shocking claim his arts have plagiarized from 23 different sects. A wave of disbelief washes over the crowd, and the clan leader calls his statement absurd and dishonest. He argues that without representatives from the other sects present, his claim cannot be validated. But our hero simply points to the crowd, announcing that the representatives have just arrived. The little demon of the Namgun clan makes his way through the stunned onlookers. The little moon of the Wudong sect also appears, giving a cheerful wave to the crowd. They casually explain they were in the area and decided to stop by for the ceremony. The Namgun demon analyzes the technique and confirms its similarity to his own clan's arts. He explains that his clan's art incorporates the essence of heaven, earth, and humanity. The little moon conquers and presents a mysterious box to the leader of the Bakley clan. He knows that novices are afraid of hurting their opponents and don't use their full strength. The box contains confirmation letters from numerous sects, all attesting to the suspicion of plagiarism. With a challenging gaze, the little moon asks if this means all the other sects are also plagiarists. Shocked, Chang Xiong reads one of the letters, which confirms a similarity with his clan's own arts. He realizes the clan's argument that overlapping techniques constitute plagiarism has now been turned against them. One of his men cries out in desperation, claiming the Alliance cannot conduct such a biased review. Our hero tears the letters to shreds, revealing that everything was verified by the current captain of the Celestial Squadron. With a triumphant smirk, he faces his uncle, who glares back with deep, uncontrollable hatred. The Alliance strategist mutters about how he verified everything so quickly, but the MC ignores him. He states he has said all he needs to, and now it is the Moon Sword's turn to respond. Our hero knows that if his uncle admits to plagiarism, the Bakley clan will be in trouble with 23 other sects. Seething with pure fury, Chang Xiong draws his sword and lunges at the protagonist. His men try to hold him back, but he throws them aside and continues his ferocious attack. Our hero parries the blow with his own sword, warning him not to come any closer. He declares this a personal matter and doesn't want anyone else getting involved. The man screams that no matter what anyone says, he is the future pillar who will lead the clan. The protagonist accuses him of being unable to let go of the past and counters with his own sword. His uncle questions if he still harbors resentment because the clan failed to avenge his mother. He says he understands the hatred but cannot allow it to destroy the clan's future. With a look of fierce determination, he vows to protect the clan at all costs. He believes that if the protagonist hadn't left, he would have been the greatest sword master of his generation. His eyes glowing with energy, our hero prepares for the final clash. The two exchange powerful blows, culminating in a massive explosion of blue energy that lights up the arena. The impact sends Chang Xiong staggering backward, barely able to remain on his feet. The protagonist states that he will not deny his lineage, facing the man with a serious expression. He admits that resentment still lingers, but he has moved past the worst of the pain. He explains that as a sect leader, he must become strong on his own terms and can never return. The man asks about the future, questioning if he can truly withstand the pressure from the main house. But our hero affirms that he is prepared to face whatever comes his way, just as he always has been. The unwavering determination in his eyes surprises the clan leader, who can only stare back in silence. The scene flashes back to a memory of the young protagonist training with his uncle. He celebrates finally being able to withstand one of his uncle's direct blows. The man challenges him to withstand another, preparing to strike again. Back in the present, our hero firmly declares that his arts were not plagiarized from anyone. He asks for just a little more time, so that the truth may finally be revealed to all. A confident smile returns to Changzong's face as he rises and prepares to make an announcement. He declares on his honor that the righteous heathen sect did not plagiarize the arts of the Bakley clan. The crowd erupts in cheers at the news, and the founding ceremony can finally resume. The protagonist watches the scene with a discreet smile, while his disciple signs up. Our hero just smiles and says that's why he told her to believe in herself. But the protagonist has other plans and prepares to reveal his true strategy. The leader of the unorthodox alliance commends our hero's choice of disciple. A blonde girl tells him to be quiet, saying she traveled a long way just to see the event. The leader scoffs, calling the idea of the mansion being a divine artifact ridiculous. He finds the protagonist more interesting than he expected and decides to depart for now. The disciple from the Dragon Hall watches him leave, contemplating her new business partner. She observes him celebrating with his disciples, already planning for their future business ventures. The scene shifts to the Miram Alliance headquarters on a bright, peaceful day. Siowa is in shock, realizing that not a single person has applied to join their sect yet. 3 days have passed, and no new disciples have come to join their ranks. Our hero tries to remain calm, but the system alerts him that his heart rate is unstable. The young waifu asks how they are supposed to recruit new members for their sect. She suggests Wang Pao could try recruiting on the streets, but our hero has a different plan. He instructs him to deliver a scroll to a group of merchants, leaving the young man confused. The protagonist reveals the scroll contains a method for recruiting talented new disciples. The document details an issue within the Alliance's military department concerning a particular martial school. The disciples of the Murian school have rejected a joint training exercise, causing concern for the Alliance. Their reason is that the training process is biased and unfairly disadvantages their students. The Alliance categorizes schools into major and minor sects, fostering intense rivalry. Jago Pyong explains that while the fights were once balanced, the new generation is different. The disciples from the Muzhong school are exceptionally strong, and the Murian school's morale has plummeted. The strategist mentions they've tried to persuade the school's master, but he stands by his students. After 3 consecutive losses, he likely wants to salvage his school's reputation. A carrier pigeon arrives with a message, and the strategist prepares to issue an order. He commands that all disciples from the Murian school be gathered for the training as planned. The vice strategist receives the order and prepares to carry out his superior's command. The scene cuts to a nearby forest, where a young man awakens from a nightmare with a start. He scrambles to his feet, panting, trying to calm himself after the terrifying dream. Another disciple, San Wugong, scolds him for dishonoring his name with his recent actions. San Munchiak replies that it isn't his turn for watch duty, and that he should get more sleep. He apologizes for their boycott of the training, taking full responsibility for the decision. He believes being sent to a nameless sect is their punishment for the offense. Munchiak tells him not to worry, suggesting they can simply pressure the sect's leader. A dark figure emerges from the trees, and they immediately ready themselves for a potential fight. Our hero steps into the clearing and introduces himself as the leader of the Righteous Heavens sect. He announces that the entrance test for his sect begins at this very moment. The rule is simple, and the disciples grip their weapons, preparing for the challenge. He explains that if even one of them manages to pass through the sect's gate, they all pass. The protagonist watches the scene with a discreet smile while his disciple signs up. But the protagonist has other plans and prepares to reveal his true strategy. Our hero just smiles and says that's why he told her to believe in herself. The school's leader yells for his disciples to prepare for the impending battle. But our hero launches a surprise attack, taking them all down with a single powerful strike. The man is stunned by the protagonist's strength, barely able to believe what just happened. He warns them they can only pass if they first manage to escape from him alive. The scene changes to Hubei province, where a group of warriors discuss the latest news. They're talking about how the Murian school's training will be held at a new, unknown sect. One of them comments that the location doesn't matter, as the Alliance must have its reasons. A confident young woman declares that no matter where they go, she will be the one to emerge victorious. She recalls the day her brother left, promising he would return for her one day. The young girl had watched him go with a broken heart, feeling completely abandoned. She watched him run into the distance, feeling utterly alone and helpless within her own clan. The necklace he left her was the only thing she had to remember him by from that sad day. The girl, revealed to be our hero's sister, vows not to lose until she uncovers the truth. Back in the forest, our hero engages the Murian school disciples with his sword. He compliments them on being better than expected, and with a smile prepares for his next move. One of the disciples asks if his partner is alright, and our hero asks for his name. The man introduces himself as Sound Munchiak and accuses him of attacking them without reason. But the protagonist claims it's his teaching method, stating he needs to know their capabilities before he can teach. Munchiak reminds him of the test's rule and braces for the challenge ahead. He knows that novices are afraid of hurting their opponents and don't use their full strength. The young man asks what will happen if they fail the test, and our hero just smiles. He informs them that if they don't pass, they will be barred from the upcoming training matches. The protagonist warns that he will tie them up and lock them in a storehouse until the tournament is over. This would mean a forfeiture, the ultimate humiliation for any martial artist. The disciples panic at this threat and prepare to fight with everything they have. They group together, deciding that defeating our hero right here and now should count as a pass. With a confident smirk, Baekli-woon challenges them to try their luck against him in the forest. He praises their decision and readies himself for a fight against all the disciples at once. Our hero attacks with blinding speed and overwhelming strength, defeating them in an instant. He remarks that their tactic might have worked against anyone else, but not him. One of the disciples is in shock, unable to believe they were defeated so easily. The protagonist turns to see that all the others have been taken down and are lying on the ground. He taunts them for losing their fighting spirit so quickly, calling them weak. In a flash, he appears behind one of them, complimenting his good posture. Our hero then criticizes him for being too rigid before striking him with a precise blow. He continues to press the disciples with swift and accurate attacks, testing their limits. One of the young men yells his partner's name, trying to move in and help. The protagonist observes them with a serious expression, continuing the intense and brutal training session. One of the disciples is shocked by the defeat and can't believe what happened. The disciples of the Mujong school are very strong, and the other school's morale is collapsing. Our hero analyzes Sun Munchiak, recognizing his speed and combat experience. He notes that the other disciples are frozen with panic, unable to move effectively. The protagonist realizes they aren't using their numerical advantage in the fight. He criticizes Son Woogan for his hesitation, knowing he's afraid of causing injury during training. Despite their flaws, he acknowledges that 3 of them stand out from the rest of the group. With a frustrated sigh, he decides he needs to provoke them further to get a proper reaction. He scolds them for falling apart in the face of a single strong opponent, calling them pathetic. One of the disciples, angered by the taunt, prepares to fight back with renewed determination. Munchiak takes charge, ordering Woogan handle defense while the others create an opening. He knows the protagonist is holding back and believes they can use this to their advantage. Munchiak plans to be the distraction, telling Danrian to strike when the opportunity presents itself. Our hero praises their strategy but remarks that they took far too long to adapt. He lunges forward, attacking with a speed and force that leaves them no time to react. With a single motion, he drives his sword into the ground, leaving the disciples stunned by their defeat. The protagonist turns and sees that all the others have been defeated and are down on the ground. He taunts them for losing their fighting spirit so quickly and calls them weak. With a swift movement, he appears behind one of them and praises him for his good posture. Our hero Krikaporsa Restrudo Iotaka Kamam Gulp Sortero. One of the young men yells his partner's name and tries to get closer to help in the fight. The protagonist is observa Kam o Harsirio Continuo Trinamento Intenso Brutal. The protagonist is pleased to see they can coordinate and commends their new strategy. The 3 attack in unison, but our hero effortlessly parries their combined blows. He sends them flying with a single movement, continuing to completely dominate the fight. The disciples cry out in pain, realizing they are no match for the protagonist's overwhelming strength. He criticizes them for being too optimistic and unleashes a series of rapid strikes. One of them charges forward desperately, but our hero sidesteps the attack with ease. The protagonist slams him to the ground, scolding him for having such low expectations of himself in combat. He declares the training is over and moves to finish off the last disciple standing. But the young man suddenly releases a red aura, and a familiar technique gives our hero pause. He recognizes it as an unorthodox martial art, wondering if the disciple would truly risk his life over this. With a challenging look, our hero tells him to show his full strength in one final blow. The disciple charges with all his might, and the protagonist braces for the training's final clash. He wonders if the disciple would risk his life just to pass the Sect's training. With a challenging look, our hero tells him to show his full strength in the final blow. The disciple charges with all his might, and the protagonist braces for the training's final clash. He wonders if the disciple would risk his life just to pass the Sect's training. With a challenging look, our hero tells him to show his full strength in the final blow. The disciple charges with all his might, and the protagonist braces for the training's final clash. The protagonist watches the scene with a discreet smile while his disciple signs up. But the protagonist has other plans and prepares to reveal his true strategy. The protagonist recognizes the young man's incredible talent and is thoroughly impressed by his strength. The system warns that his predatory instincts are resurfacing, and he feels a powerful urge to fight. With an excited grin, he decides he must have this disciple for his sect, no matter what. Our hero defeats him with ease, taunting him for having nothing left in his arsenal. The young man awakens, panting and confused with no memory of where he is or what happened. He sits up and realizes he's in a room at the headquarters of the Righteous Heavens sect. A bald man greets him, and the young man recalls fainting from sheer exhaustion the day before. He remembers the man's name as he tries to piece together the events of the previous night. The young man remembers using his forbidden technique in front of the sect leader. Panic sets in as he realizes the protagonist may have discovered his secret. The young man is terrified by the possibility of being executed as a spy from a rival faction. The man informs him that the assembly is about to start and they need to hurry. He finds the man's casual behavior odd, wondering if the sect leader somehow missed it. But he recalls the protagonist's strange expression and feels certain that he knows everything. The young man remembers that our hero even recognized his master's name, which only heightens his tension. He wonders why the protagonist hasn't exposed him yet and what he could possibly be planning. Outside, our hero is waiting for him with a mysterious smile on his face. He calls out to him and the young man is startled to see him waiting just outside the door. The protagonist watches the scene with a discreet smile while his disciple signs up. But the protagonist has other plans and prepares to reveal his true strategy. Our hero announces that the 5 remaining disciples have passed the first test. One of them expresses surprise that so few of them managed to pass the challenge. The 5 finalists are Oh Ryang, a monk named Woon Jin, and Dan Ryan. San Munchiak and San Wugong are also among those who passed the initial training. The protagonist informs them that for the next 15 days, they will be sparring against his own disciples. Siowa distributes the training equipment, handing a spear to Munchiak for his use. The young waifu hands out weapons to all the new disciples of the Righteous Heaven sect. She introduces herself as their sparring partner and readies herself for the training. Wang Pao introduces himself, and the protagonist tells them to begin the first session of the day. To save time, Siowa proposes a 5-on-2 match, and our hero agrees. Wang Pao declares that's enough talk and says they should get started with the day's training. The waifu smiles, agreeing that it's time to begin the training without any further delay. She then suggests a match, all 5 new recruits against both her and Wang Pao. This proposal leaves the new disciples completely speechless, stunned by her boldness. Our hero, however, agrees to the idea, seeming to find the challenge quite interesting. With a proud smile, he thinks to himself that this is exactly the kind of attitude he expected from his disciple. Munchia comments with a serious expression on the overconfidence of the 2 sect veterans. But Wang Pao cuts in, insisting he can handle them all himself and telling Siowa to just watch. Munchiak prepares for battle, recalling their 3 years of losses to the Mujang school. But he adds that they will not be defeated by a sect no one has ever heard of. Munchiak yells that he'll end this quickly and charges headfirst at his opponent. He attacks Dan Ryan with his spear, and the two engage in a high-speed exchange of blows. With a powerful spin, he warns that the fight isn't over and prepares his next attack. Sparks fly as their weapons clash once more, a testament to the intensity of their combat. He readies what appears to be a finishing move, intending to end the fight once and for all. With a focused gaze, Munchiak announces his final blow as Siowa watches intently. But out of nowhere, the waifu intercepts his attack with her own spear, which glows with a blue energy. A system window pops up informing them that her unique trait, Clear Mind, has been activated. Munchiak is shocked as he feels the girl's cold energy spreading through his own spear. With a smile, she warns him that this is going to hurt a little and he should brace himself. The young waifu then unleashes a blast of energy that sends her opponent flying. Seeing this, the other disciples cry out their partner's name, worried about the outcome. Siowa then challenges the rest of the group to come at her all at once, without fear. The monk Woonjin gets angry and attacks, shouting that his name isn't the rest, but she easily blocks his strike. He compliments her strong defensive posture, noting that she has clearly trained hard. The waifu blushes at the praise and thanks the monk for his kind words. But he warns that her next attack won't be so easy to defend and prepares to strike again. Suddenly, Wang Pao appears and blocks the monk's attack, surprising Siowa with his intervention. With a swift motion, he grabs the monk's hand, halting the blow in its tracks. Then, with a confident grin, Wang Pao announces that it's his turn to join the fun. Wang Pao squeezes the monk's arm with immense force, showing he isn't playing around. One of the recruits acknowledges their strength and announces that they are now going to fight seriously. With that, all 5 of them charge forward in a coordinated assault against the veteran duo. But the MC's 2 disciples block every single blow with astonishing ease. The spiky, haired young man grows furious that they are losing to a completely unknown sect. From a distance, the protagonist watches the battle unfold in silence, his expression serious. Another recruit unleashes a red aura, preparing for a powerful attack of his own. The young waifu is taken aback by the sudden shift in her opponent's energy. With a fierce battle cry, the large man charges with all his might at the 2 sect veterans. One of the other recruits can hardly believe the amount of power his partner is unleashing. He uses his whip to attack Dan Ryan while another disciple shouts her name. The young man swings his weapon with incredible force, kicking up a trail of dust. But his wild attack ends up hitting one of his own partners, who collapses to the ground. After the chaotic exchange, only one female recruit remains standing, and the fight seems to be decided. The waifu then asks the last opponent if she still wishes to continue the training. The girl is in shock, unable to believe they lost in such a humiliating fashion. She looks at her fallen comrades on the ground, realizing all 5 of them have been utterly defeated. Our hero then remarks with a smile that appears the training session is finally over. He reveals to the recruits that Siowa has only been training in martial arts for a single month. Everyone is stunned by this revelation, and the young waifu just gives a playful blink. One of the recruits is shocked, wondering how the waifu can possess so much internal energy at her age. The MC then instructs them that from now on, they must focus on group tactics to improve their fighting. He adds that this lesson is especially important for a team that has lost for 3 consecutive years. Our hero explains that they must learn to trust one another if they ever hope to become stronger. He then concludes the day's training, telling everyone to rest and recover from the intense sparring session. But before he leaves, the protagonist asks the young San Wugang to stay behind for a private talk. The young man is baffled by the request, having no idea what his new master could want with him. Meanwhile, the other recruits head off, chatting and praising the skills of the sect's veteran duo. The scene shifts to the sect's headquarters, where the atmosphere is calm and peaceful for the moment. Suddenly, the system announces it is activating a sound barrier to ensure their conversation remains private. A digital barrier materializes, isolating the 2 of them from the rest of the world. Bakley Woon commends the young man for being very perceptive, which only confuses him further. Our hero then asks if they can finally finish their conversation from the previous day. With his eyes glowing, He demands to know what the young leader of the Blood Sword Sect is doing here. His aura flares as he demands a good explanation for the situation, with no more delays. He warns that if the young man fails to tell the truth, he should prepare for the consequences. Floating in the air, the protagonist pressures the young man to give him the answers he seeks. Terrified, Wugang clutches his weapon, debating whether he should try to make a run for it. In a desperate move, he unleashes an energy attack, hoping to create a diversion to escape. But the MC appears directly behind him, informing him that running is not an option. With a serious gaze, our hero demands that Som Wugang explain his presence here. The scene then flashes back 5 years to the headquarters of the Blood Sword Sect. We see a young Wugang kneeling as his master berates him for his lack of cruelty. The man yells that he should have severed his opponent's tendons, ensuring he could never wield a sword again. The master reminds him of his position as the young leader, asking how long he plans to keep disappointing him. Then the old man gives a horrific command: the young man must eliminate his own older sister. He explains she is on the front lines against the Alliance and that the method doesn't matter. The master screams that this is the unorthodox path where a moment of compassion can lead to annihilation. He threatens that if the young man flees or takes his own life, he will personally hunt down his sister and finish her. The man adds that if he refuses the mission, he will eliminate everyone the boy holds dear. Left with no choice, the young man kneels and agrees to infiltrate the Miram Alliance as a spy. With a determined look, he thinks that he just needs to buy enough time to formulate an escape plan. He believes that he can just get out of his master's sight. He might have a chance to get away. But suddenly a red energy snakes around his neck, and he screams in agony from the attack. Back in the present, it's revealed the memory was just a distraction during his fight with the MC. Our hero remarks that while he still can't properly gauge an opponent's strength, it was a good move. Wugang unleashes his red energy, asking what the protagonist intends to do with him now. The MC explains that he cannot display his true strength with orthodox arts and must release his full power. With a smile, our hero challenges him to prove his worth and show him what he's really capable of. Wugang realizes the protagonist's strength is on a completely different level than it was during the entrance test. He knows that a single moment of hesitation in this fight could have dire consequences. With a roar of fury, the young man unleashes all his red energy and charges at his opponent. The clash of their blows creates a brilliant explosion of energy that illuminates the entire area. The protagonist comments that the young man's gentle nature is incompatible with unorthodox arts. Wugang is enraged by this comment and demands to know what our hero means by that. The MC explains that to truly win, he must be willing to cut down anything that stands in his way. The young man thinks of his master and screams that the protagonist knows nothing about him. Bakley Woon points out that the young man's sword lacks any true fighting spirit, which is why he's losing. The young man grows angrier, shouting at our hero not to act as if he knows him so well. But the MC replies that while he may try to hide it, his sword reveals the truth about him. With a few more strikes, the protagonist disarms the young man, leaving him kneeling on the ground. He then asks what truth the young man is searching for on his path as a warrior. Wugang screams that it doesn't matter in a world where you either eliminate others or get eliminated yourself. A small smile on his face, our hero asks why he even bothers to wield a sword if he truly believes that. The young man is left speechless, forced to reflect on the real reason he continues to fight. Channeling his red energy, he prepares to answer the question with a powerful attack. The two clash one more time, and the impact of their swords creates a massive explosion. The force of the blow kicks up a thick cloud of dust and shatters the ground around them. As the smoke clears, Wugang is still on his feet, but his body is trembling with exhaustion. He collapses to his knees, utterly spent, and finally begins to reveal why he still wields his sword. He confesses that he has a reason for wanting to become stronger and looks our hero in the eye. Wugang recounts that his father was an honorable man who always fought to the very end on the battlefield. The young man remembers watching his father be struck down before his very eyes, powerless to help. He says the anger over his passing still burns, but he knows he cannot act recklessly. That is why he must become stronger, enduring whatever is necessary to achieve his revenge. In his relentless pursuit of power, he rose to become the young leader of the Blood Sword Sect. The protagonist then asks if the young man regrets the time he spent with that sect. Wugang admits he doesn't know the answer, only that he wanted to protect his father's honor. He wanted to prove that his father was not a coward, but the bravest martial artist who ever lived. With tears in his eyes, he cries out that he wanted to proudly carry his father's name and lineage. But now, he feels he has completely lost his way and no longer knows what to do with his life. The young man surrenders, telling the MC to either finish him or hand him over to the Miram Alliance. Our hero approaches, saying he finally understands the young man's true reason for fighting. He reveals that the young man fights to protect, not to destroy, which stuns the young warrior. With a sharp slap to the head, the protagonist knocks the young man to the ground. Wugang complains about the pain, and the MC tells him to get up and stop feeling sorry for himself. Our hero remarks that looking at him is like looking at a younger version of himself, a boy lost and blinded by revenge. He recounts how, after leaving his clan and joining the Marian school, he completely rebuilt his martial arts. The protagonist offers to help the young man rebuild his foundations and teach him a new way to fight. A wicked smile appears as he thinks how beneficial it would be to have a disciple from one of the 10 celestial sects. The MC declares that over the next 15 days, he will systematically destroy every technique the young man has ever learned. With a smirk, he asks if the young man is willing to follow him, knowing the pain that awaits. Woogang accepts the challenge, and the protagonist guarantees it's his job to make him stronger. The scene shifts to the Miram Alliance headquarters, where two men are discussing the new disciples. One comments that the current generation at the Mujang school is exceptionally talented and promising. The other reveals that the rival alliance leader has proposed a wager for the upcoming competition. If he loses, he will halt all of his faction's expansion and aggressive actions for an entire year. The old man knows this is an offer they cannot refuse, as it will buy them precious time to reorganize. With a glint in his eye, he decides to raise the stakes, declaring that they cannot afford to lose this tournament. To guarantee their victory, they have brought in a new instructor, the greatest talent from the Wudang sect. The man known as Blue Flow recalls our hero's name and his connection to the Murian school. Later, we see the sect's veteran duo completely exhausted after another grueling day of training. The waifu complains that the 2-on-5 sparring sessions are too intense even for them. The protagonist appears and praises her for her hard work, offering her a special reward. He promises that if she can win 8 out of the 15 matches against the Murian disciples, he will take her to a famous blacksmith he knows to have a custom weapon forged just for her. The young woman is thrilled by the idea but admits she doesn't know what a custom weapon is. Our hero explains it's a weapon crafted specifically to her measurements and fighting style. Overjoyed, the girl celebrates and vows to win the required matches to earn her prize. The next day during training, Wang Pal is amazed by Sioa's rapid improvement. Munchiak asks if the sect leader is only nice to the people he actually likes. Wang Pal laughs at the question just as the protagonist appears, dragging Wugan behind him with a rope. He scolds the young man for disobeying his order to do nothing and ties him to a large rock. Holding a talisman, the MC prepares to activate the special trap he has set for the young man. The rope begins to crackle with lightning, constricting around Wugang's body with incredible force. Our hero explains that he must use his internal energy to escape, without moving his body at all. Wang Pao questions the harsh treatment, but the protagonist tells him not to worry about it. He orders the duo to continue their training, and the recruits advance to show how much they've improved. The MC tells Wugang to observe his teammates and consider why he was ordered not to fight. The recruits display impressive teamwork, attacking the veterans in a coordinated fashion. One of them realizes the waifu isn't giving him any space to re-establish his spear's optimal range, so he decides to use his own body to close the distance and engage in close-quarters combat. Wugang is surprised to see Munchiak has already developed new hand-to-hand combat skills. He watches Sioa's movements closely, wondering if a momentary opening he saw was a mistake or intentional. The protagonist remarks that their progress is notable, and they've improved greatly in a short time. He taunts Wugang, saying that watching his friends fight must make him eager to join them. A system window announces that Munchiak has entered a state of Bodhi spear unity. The recruit has a breakthrough, realizing he can use his own body as an extension of his spear. With this newfound insight, he attacks with a level of force and precision that surprises everyone. Desperate, Wugang begs to be released, unable to bear standing by any longer. The MC explains that while Munchiak is forging his own path, he is merely imitating his sect's arts. He adds that the young man's body is so accustomed to those movements that changing them will be difficult. Since he can't fix the habits of the body, he must instead fix the habits of his internal energy. The protagonist states that while his partners are learning new styles, he must go further and destroy his own energy. He reveals that the young man must find his answers within his unused meridians in order to evolve. With a cry of agony, Wugang tries to force his energy through the blockages in his body. The system warns that the young man's energy has become turbulent and has begun to flow in reverse. Our hero warns him not to be hasty, as the corrupted energy could destroy his core from within. The other recruits are horrified by the type of training their master is subjecting him to. Munchiak screams his partner's name in concern, but the MC prevents him from approaching to help. He states firmly that this is a trial Wugang must overcome on his own. With a determined look, the young man tells himself he cannot give up and will not return to his past. He begins to empty his own meridians, attempting to purify and expel the corrupted energy. The system announces the disciple has initiated the macrocosmic orbit process within his body. Black smoke pours from his body as he screams in pain during the purification process. After it's over, he coughs up a black substance and collapses to the ground, completely drained. The protagonist approaches and asks if he's alright after the grueling training session. Suddenly, the rope shatters and Wugang is finally free from the master's trap. Our hero catches him, congratulating him for successfully purging the arts of his former sect. With a smile, he congratulates him on becoming a blank slate, ready to learn anew. With a determined fire in his eyes, the young man asks the protagonist to train him, refusing to be left behind. The MC smiles and tells him to fill that blank slate with a sword path that is uniquely his own. The scene changes to the sect, where all the new disciples are celebrating their newfound camaraderie. Elsewhere, a terrifying creature stares at a man hanging from a tree. A girl and her partner discover the body, and she sternly tells him to be quiet. The man notes that the neck marks and the method of suspension confirm it's who they were looking for. The girl wonders if they've lost their target yet again and begins searching the area for clues. She concludes the creature has no discernible pattern, meaning any human is a potential target. The young woman is frightened by the thought of it being a demon, and a red aura briefly flickers around her. Her partner observes that the demon leaves no tracks, suggesting a high level of intelligence. The girl resolves to continue tracking it, determined not to allow any more victims. The man agrees, saying orders are orders, but notes that missions like these often have casualties. He muses that perhaps he should get life insurance just in case. He then takes out a stone tablet and begins to carve a message, in case the worst should happen. The message instructs the finder to contact the leader of the